Good evening. The regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 will come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phones. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Cleveland,
Here.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Here.
Commissioner Perrine,
Here.
and we'll need a motion to excuse the absences of Commissioner Martin and Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion to excuse Commissioner Martin and Commissioner McGurk?
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with that technical procedure out of the way, I'd like to welcome Police Department Chaplain Bill Kitchen to offer our invocation. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father God, when we come to meet like this, my prayer is a simple one, that everybody here, we will be honest, we will be civil and polite, and we will be open-minded, so that we can leave this meeting saying, you know, we had to deal with zoning and some stuff, but it was a good meeting. That's my prayer, Father. In Jesus' name I pray it. Amen.
Thank you very much. And now Attorney Glenn Storch, our local resident, will offer the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, let's make sure we get the right one.
It's a good one. I pledge allegiance.
I know. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have not been used to leading this. I've only been used to following.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Everybody can please be seated. Thank you and welcome for coming to your city's public business meeting. We're delighted that you're here, and I see it's standing room only. And so with that, let's have a look at the agenda. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the published agenda?
Yes, sir. I have quite a few of them. We start with number 7N. Want to change it to consider staff recommendation to reject the RFP proposal number 19-23LS, and that is the robotic line marking machine. The current title of the agenda item says consider the approval of the RFP. Number 2.
So that is to approve the staff recommendation, which is to reject.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We're adding another item for the police department, and that will be 7S, and that will be to consider approval of fiscal year 22-23 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant. The other changes, we are continuing item 8A and 8B. 8A is the Turnbull Creek Land Preservation Committee Board Report, and 8B is Resolution 39-23, and that is to consider the adoption of a resolution which, if adopted, would sunset the Turnbull Creek Land Preservation Committee. Mayor, these two items will continue to September 26, 2023.
Thank you very much.
And my last one is item 9G. At the request of the applicants, they're asking to continue to August 22nd, 2023, and that's ordinance number 44-23, and I will ask the Assistant City Attorney to read the title block for this item.
Very good. Okay.
For this item, we would need a motion by commission. So ordinance number 4423 is being asked to continue, which is an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 12 contiguous parcels of land located east of North Atlantic Avenue between Crawford Road and Sapphire Road, addressed as 805, 807, 809, 811, 813, 815, 903, 905, 907, 911, 919, and 921 North Atlantic Avenue from City R3 Single Family and Two Family Residential to City R3A Single Family and Two Family Zero Lot Line Residential Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
So let me understand that correctly. This is the quasi-judicial hearing that we were going to have on the change in zoning. And so just by show of hands, how many residents were here for that topic? Okay, so put your hands down, please. Just so you know, quasi-judicial hearings consider the evidence placed before the commission at the time of the quasi-judicial hearing. Many of you would like to voice your opinions, I'm sure. If you voice it tonight, it will not be part of the record for the quasi-judicial hearing. We're happy to hear them tonight. It'll be part of the city record, but it will not be considered as part of the quasi-judicial, which is what we'll have to vote on. So for clarity, if you would like to speak with impact, you will need to return on the 22nd. Is that right? That's when we're continuing it to, which is our very next meeting. You see, we have 2 commissioners missing. It's probably proper and righteous to make sure we have a full commission to consider that topic. I don't want to drag anybody around. Don't want anybody to feel that there's anything going on here. It's just that we don't have the full commission present. I think it's due and proper to allow the entire commission to have that opportunity. If you would like to still speak tonight, that's fine. But if you want your testimony to be considered as part of the hearing on the 22nd, you'll please come back at that time and offer your comments and conversation. Any questions about that?
The only other thing I wanted to add is the city website has also updated a clarification, and I believe I saw that today. And I just wanted a lot of people of the emails that I've received about this particular case. There's some clarification on that due to a postcard that went out about the grandfather. So please do read that, and that will also help you to decide if you're going to come back or not.
Yeah. So, Assistant City Attorney McCurdy, did I characterize the quasi-judicial properly? And if you don't mind, would you just give like a primer of the 3 points that you and Carrie always tell us and remind us about that are under consideration?
Sure, so I'm just going to give you a brief understanding of quasi-judicial. So quasi-judicial decisions are related to application of rules or policies to a specific individual or properties, or is an application of policies to a situation. So for example, there is a set of criteria that will be applied to this application. It will be weighed by the evidence that is presented during a procedural due process, which is afforded to the applicant. Notice of the hearing, meaningful opportunity to be heard will be granted to the applicant, and they will be able to present evidence. Evidence must be presented, must be competent and substantial evidence, meaning evidence that is sufficient and relevant to the issue at hand and material and criteria that is being established and evaluated under this application. It is not usually lay witness testimony. And from a procedural standpoint, is decided by an impartial decision-making body, which is the City Commission, as judge and jury who are to go to decide based on the evidence presented during that hearing.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that clarity. This is a good education for all of us. Quasi-judicial is a different procedure than legislative, and I want everybody to get to know what the differences are. Any other changes, City Manager, to the agenda?
No more changes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, very good. We'll proceed with item 4A.
We need a motion to continue.
I'm sorry, we do need a motion for continuance.
I'd like
Is there
to
such a
make
motion?
a motion for the ordinance number 40-23, conduct the second reading quasi-judicial hearing to be continued to August 22nd.
We have a motion to continue. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Mayor, just so for the record, that's required by Florida statute. The hearing will be on August 22nd at 6:30 p.m. at 214 Sams Avenue, New Smyrna Beach, inside the City Commission chambers.
So much. I appreciate squaring us away for the record. Okay, now on to item 4A. We're delighted to welcome the First Step Executive Director, Dr. Victoria Fahlberg, who's the Executive Director of First Step Shelter. She has a presentation for all of us tonight. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you very much. It's great to be
Hold
back.
off for just a second. We'll clear the room, and then we'll let you get started. I want all the people to be able to concentrate. Thank you, Chief. Almost. And we're going to shut those doors. Dr. Fahlberg, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to be back here. Some of you may remember I was here in 2020, and it's nice to be back. We've covered a lot of ground since then. The shelter's been open now 3.5 years, and we've learned a lot. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, and this isn't like my standard presentation. I want to try to talk to you a little bit about the things that, in my mind, you may be most concerned with. So I will tell you a little bit about what most of our residents are like. Our average age is 50 or older. Our residents are about 40% female, about 60% male. About 35 of our residents are black. The rest are white. We don't have very many Hispanics at the shelter. They just don't show up. And so that's basically what our population is. About 90% of them have medical and or psychiatric conditions, and the average length of stay is about 61 days. They have a lot of health concerns, so a very large proportion have been struggling with drug or alcohol addictions. About 65% have a major mental condition, and about 90% of them have some kind of a physical condition that includes chronic disorders such as hypertension, seizure disorders, diabetes, asthma, but there's an awful lot of other more severe disorders. We've had 12 people so far go from the shelter to the hospital to hospice, or sometimes directly to hospice. We currently have somebody in our health unit right now that's dying of cancer, and probably by the end of this week or next week he'll be in hospice. So just in general, over the 3.5 years that we've been open, this month of August, we're anticipating to serve 1,000 people who've come through our shelter. These are unique individuals. We've served over 200,000 meals. We've put 52% of the residents who've come through the shelter into housing, and 90% of those who've been in housing for at least 2 years are still in housing. So the rest of our data that is being presented right here, it's about just a few of the many services that we provide to our residents. They all need to have an income if they're going to go into housing, because even if you get a government subsidy, you're still required at least 30% of whatever it is you have as an income. A lot of our residents can't work, so with those people, we focus on getting them Social Security or SSDI. If they can work, we will help them get a job. We have a program that helps them learn how to have enough computer skills to do an online search. We'll help them with that. We'll help them with interview skills. We have transportation to take them for job interviews. We also work on getting people health insurance, food stamps, if they need a birth certificate. It all starts with having an ID. If you don't have an ID, you don't even have access to the rest of the services. And then during the time that people are at the shelter, we help them to stabilize their mental health conditions as well as their medical conditions. 1 out of every 8 residents of our shelter this year is a veteran. Last year it was 1 out of every 9. So we do get a lot of veterans at our homeless shelter. So the first thing I want to give you a little bit more description on is the Rosie Ann Tornatore Safe Zone. So the safe zone is for law enforcement referrals only. So only the law enforcement can use that. This is for people if they are somebody that they would like to remove from a location, and then according to Pottinger, if you don't have an alternative place, you're not supposed to remove them. So the safe zone offers that alternative location. So anybody brought out to us by law enforcement can stay there up to 24 hours until 10 o'clock the next day, and then they would be asked to leave. Anybody who's in there, we ask everybody every morning, would you like a referral to the Health and Housing Program, which is our main program at the shelter. So anybody who does come up there through the law enforcement, through the safe zone, also has an opportunity for the Greater Shelter Program. So there is an eligibility requirement. It's pretty broad. The thing about the safe zone is they must be accompanied by an officer. The second thing is that they have to pass a background check in the sense of not having sexual crimes or violent felonies. We have most of the people who come to the safe zone and to the shelter have felonies or other criminal backgrounds. So we're not excluding people with a criminal background. But because we're what they call a congregate shelter, which means we have this big dorm for men, and we have a big dorm for women, and then everybody's just all together. So for the safety's sake of the other residents who are there, it's why there's certain people that we don't have. They can't have an open warrant in Florida. So sometimes they have a warrant in another state that's non-extraditable. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I had no clue until I started doing this job. But if the other places are not going to extradite them, then we'll take them as well. But if there's an open warrant in Florida, then they need to, go to see a judge. They can't meet the criteria to be Baker acted or Marchman acted, which means they can't be suicidal or homicidal at the time that they come to the safe zone. They can't have any emergency medical conditions where they really need to be at a hospital. And they have to be able to use the safe zone cots that we have and the porta potty without assistance. And the other thing is that they can't have oxygen, because one of the things we've learned is that residents go and they smoke and put their cigarette right on top of the oxygen. So that's something that we learned to exclude as well. Like I said, we had a big learning curve, but anyway, we've learned a lot. So that's our safe zone. The next thing is our shelter program. So with our law enforcement partners, they are able to just make the referral. They can give the person the referral form, and as long as they meet the criteria, they can just send the person on out to the shelter. They don't need to be accompanied. So we've made that as easy as possible for law enforcement. For other community members, like local houses, like your houses of worship, hospital, social service agencies, if they would like to make a referral, then they have a different process. There's a referral form on our website. All they would need to do is download the referral form, fill it out, send it over to the email address that's on the referral form, and then we would get back to them. And we do our intakes for the shelter program Monday through Friday. If somebody happens to come in after at the end of the day on Friday, then they would stay in the safe zone until Monday, when we can then do a regular intake. Our intakes, because we have to go through the National HUD database, everything has to be put into this national database every time somebody comes in, even when they only stay a day. And that takes, so between that and the whole way we do the intake. So the first thing that happens is the nurse will do an assessment just to be sure that the person is physically capable of moving around and things like that. The person would get showered, clean clothing. We have a bug zapper. So that's just all part of the intake before we even get started on taking in all the information and setting up a service plan with goals for the person. So the intake process can take 2 to 3 hours, which is why we can't do it unless there's staff there that are trained to do that. So they have to reach the eligibility criteria for the same as the safe zone. But in addition to that, they have to desire housing, and be willing to either work, or if they're eligible for Social Security, we can apply for that. But the goal of the shelter program is to go into housing. It's to change your life around and do something different. They must comply with the rules of the shelter, and that includes saving half of their income. And we do this so that when they do go into housing, they will have first and last month's rent, they'll have money for their application fee, and also if they need furniture or things like that. We do have other social service agencies that can help with that, but people need a little bit of money to get started. So they can't be showing signs of psychosis when they come into the shelter. That's a higher standard than just the Baker Act or Marchman Act. And then they should arrive, this isn't a mandatory, but if they are on prescription medication, we really like to have it with them, because if they come in at the end of the week and we don't have any prescribing doctor available and they run out of their meds, then that can make a difficulty for them even just getting started in the program. So we're trying to do things to make people as successful as possible. And again, like with the Safe Zone, they have to be able to eat on their own, toilet and bathe on their own, and to get in and out of bed without assistance. We don't have enough staff. We have a very small staff, and we just aren't able to provide that level of care for people. So I think this might even be the last slide I've got. Let me check. So yeah, this is the last slide, and I want to tell you a little bit about this program. It's a newer program. It started a year ago. We do it with the Sheriff's Department. And for our participating cities, anybody in the community, if they see a homeless person at their business or in their neighborhood, they can call our helpline. And we will, as quickly as possible, come out and make a visit and try to convince the person to come to the shelter program. So we'll give them all the information they need. If they don't want to come at that time, we leave them with information on how they can get in touch with us to come into the shelter program. And if they do want to come, we'll give them a bus ticket, or I actually think from New Smyrna Beach they need 2. So they would get 2 if they were coming from here, but to make it possible for them to actually be able to come. So that is the presentation, and I'm happy if you have any questions for me.
Great, excellent. Thank you, Doctor, for that. Question, Commissioner Perrine.
When I toured the shelter, you have this outdoor area where people can come and stay before they go inside, and also we discussed some of the issues in the past where the possibility of people staying there until there's a bed available, or do you foresee that there will always be beds available for New Smyrna?
So the way it goes is that, as you can see, we put 52% of people into housing. So what happens is we get about half the people who come in are actually dedicated to changing their life. And those people can stay anywhere from a few months to longer than that. Because as long as somebody is doing everything we've asked them to do, we never kick somebody out. We will guarantee housing eventually if somebody's willing to work the program and do what we ask them to do. The other half of the people who come in are people who can be there anywhere from 1 day to 2 or 3 weeks, and then they decide that it's just that they're not ready to make that kind of a change in their life, and then they may leave. So what you were asking about is the Roseanne Tornator Safe Zone. So if people come in, so first off, the law enforcement don't even need to call ahead about a bed. We started out doing that, but what we found is because the turnover rate is fairly quick, and we also generally put people into housing, fairly quick too, although this year it's been a little bit slower because we don't have as many government subsidies to work with. But between the people who just sort of leave and the people we're putting into housing, within a few days there will be a bed available. So if the referral comes through the police and they come on up to the shelter without a phone call about a bed or anything, which they don't need to do, then they just will stay in the safe zone a couple of days until that bed opens up. If it's a referral from the community where they go through the email process, we will wait and tell them when the person can come up if there's not a bed available at that time. So did that?
Yes, because I believe that happened to be the only concern of our citizens from the past in January when we discussed this might be a time when there would not be an available bed for a New Smyrna resident or New Smyrna person that needed shelter.
Yeah, so
But
the
they
beds just turn
can
over.
guarantee that now, where
Yeah.
possibly this has improved in the last 3 years, and they made a lot of great changes. And the only other thing, after they ask questions, I'm hoping that our chief and also our Max, our officer Max, can actually talk about and bring this home about how this will help the community and what they recommend as well.
Sure. I should probably just quickly add that we made a change that the police themselves can make the referral and just send the person up. That change only happened a few months ago. We actually had a really great meeting with all the other chiefs of police that are part of our participating cities, and we had this conversation, and then that's when we made the decision to do that, because we do have the turnover and because it just makes it easier, the process. And we really do, our goal is to make the process as easy as possible for the people who participate with us.
If we start, when's the available date that we can make this happen? How
As
soon?
soon as your commission would like to do that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Vice Mayor.
So this requires an annual contract. Is it an annual contract based on calendar year, fiscal year, or from the date that you signed the contract?
So the other participating cities basically started their contract when we opened the safe zone.
Right.
That was the end of November. So, but it wouldn't matter. I mean, we're capable of people having different dates. So if you wanted to wait till the next fiscal year, you could. If you wanted to start now, our fiscal year is October 1.
Okay.
And so basically that's the calendar that everybody follows.
Okay.
But it's all up to you.
Yeah. I didn't want to start today, pay the annual fee, and then get billed again October 1st.
We're not like that. We're very laid back when it comes to stuff like that. We wouldn't do that.
The devil is in the details. So.
Yeah, no, if you wanted to start tomorrow, we'll not charge you for this fiscal year. We'll
Okay.
let you go.
Thank you.
Remind me what the annual fee is for our
It's,
city?
for your city, it's $56,458.
Very good. The residents would want to know that for sure. So I get the safe zone is effectively outdoors.
It's an outdoor pavilion.
Yeah, okay, just for clarity, it's outside, and while you would not necessarily guarantee a bed immediately, someone could stay if one of Chief Feldman's officers picked them up and said, hey, we're going to take you to a place, you could take them in. And the proviso is they can't be, remind me what those things are, that you can't have a felony, you can't be a sex offender.
No, they can have a felony.
Can't have a felony.
They can't be a sex offender or have recently committed a violent crime.
Got it.
Yeah, and then there's some other things too. They can't, so the safe zone has an easier standard than the program.
Got that.
Okay.
Got
so-
that. And then did I understand it correctly? You say your induction rate is about 50% of the folks that come up can qualify to get inside?
Anybody can qualify to get inside as
What
long
have
as
you
they're healthy enough.
What have you realized? What
So people who
effective rate?
complete the program and go into housing is 52%.
Okay, very good. That's helpful. Silence their cell phones, please. This helps us through Pottinger, right? It helps us through the Pottinger Act to get someone who is on the street, doesn't have a place to live. By the Pottinger Act, we can't just say move along. We must have a place to take them if they have no place to go.
That's what the safe zone was built to provide.
Very good. I'm worried about, and you'll resonate with this, that we're going to provide a program. Part of the program is a mental health piece to that. That's the toughest nut to crack, right? The majority of your folks have a dependency or have a mental health issue. What's the state of medicine with actually getting somebody out of that repetitive cycle of dependency And what procedure, what process do you have, and what success have you had for people that got through, stayed out, didn't come back, or weren't on the street again, or do you know?
So HUD keeps, because we use this national database, everybody who works in homeless services is required to use a national HUD database. And after you've been putting people into housing for at least 2 years, they begin to look at your data to see how many people have gone back for services since you put them into housing. That's how they track how long people stay in housing. So what they found for us so far, we're at 90% of the people we put in, of the 52% that go into housing, 90% are still in housing.
Awesome, awesome. And you have clinicians that?
No, we do referrals. So
You referrals, okay.
Yeah, we work with different community organizations.
To Advent, to Halifax for psychiatric or psychological?
For crisis and for medication, for people who are not on the correct medication, that's where we put them over at the SMA crisis unit, which is right across the street from us. The thing is that when people come into the shelter program, we really, if a person's psychotic, they should actually go to SMA before they come to us. If we do have somebody comes in and they clearly need to be on different medication, then we will make the referral to SMA. Most of the time, SMA is making referrals to us. The people that are over there, once they've been, stabilized, then they come over to see us. So, but we have a lot of different partners in the community that help us. We have AA that comes into the shelter 4 times a week, which has been effective. So we provide people with everything they need. The other thing is, like, a lot of the people are elderly, and their health is very frail. And so a lot of what we do is help them to stabilize their physical health. And by the time they go into housing, sometimes they've been at the shelter for 6-8 months. And that entire time, we're very, very vigilant that we do not have drugs or alcohol or weapons coming into the shelter. We have ways of scanning people when they come in. We will do regular searches periodically if we need to. That's something we're very vigilant about. So people don't, if people are at the shelter, that 52%, and I think that the 90% still in housing kind of tells the story, that if they want to be there and they want to change their life, we give them everything they need to do that. We give them all the tools they need. There will always be that other part of the population that I tend to believe that when people come to the shelter, they really do want to change. That's why they come. But for some people, it's just too hard.
Yeah, thus the 50%, or a little less than 50% that never get in, that never want to commit to coming in, right?
No, that's 48% that come in and don't complete the program.
48% come in and don't complete. And
Right.
there's another quotient that don't come in. They don't want to.
We don't really know how many people don't want to come in.
Say it again, please.
Well, I don't really know how many people choose not to come in.
Do you have a drug test before you can get in?
Nope.
Okay, really
No.
good. You familiar with the City of Houston's program that claims an 85% completion rate?
No.
They
Do
have a
they
diff-
do
they have a
single
different-
adult homeless people?
Yes, they do. They have a different protocol. I'd commend you to check it out. And it's a slow process rather than an abrupt process. And so they have a different protocol. They allow the pets, they allow the smoking, they allow the alcohol, they allow the drugs, and slowly wean them off. And their percent of completion is 85%. So just to look at as a study, as a researcher. Any other questions? Dr. Fahlberg, thank you so much for your presentation. Appreciate you
It
coming
was
tonight.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we
Sure.
also comment
Sure.
about her before she leaves? Because
Sure.
that
Okay,
this
absolutely.
will let the public know why we have this need and why she's up here.
Perfect.
Because, I've had the opportunity to learn so much from all three. So, and I just think everybody needs to hear this story. It's amazing.
All right, thank you, Commissioner and Mayor, Deputy Mayor. So Max is the guy that needs to do the talking. So Max is our community service officer. He works full-time every day on this issue and has contact with all of the homeless in New Smyrna Beach. So I'm I'm going to turn it over to him, just with the preface that we do think this is a viable option for New Smyrna Beach. Our goal here is to reduce homelessness. And right now we have some pretty terrific charities within our town borders that provide showers and food and various amenities to the homeless. But in essence, it's not reducing their desire to be homeless, it's just making it easier. What we need to do is take the next step to look at some drastic changes to encourage them to look at bigger options. And while being compliant with Pottinger, and our assistant city attorney is an expert in that regard, she keeps us in line, it allows us to enforce some of the city ordinances that are already on the books, like the camping ordinance. As of right now, it's very difficult to tell somebody who has set up a tent on city property and doesn't want to move on to leave, because we have to have an option to take them somewhere to enforce our own ordinances. So with that said, I'm going to turn over to Max.
Evening. For those of you who don't know me or haven't had the pleasure of speaking, my name is Officer Ron. I'm the Community Outreach Officer for the agency. Essentially, that means my full-time duties throughout the day are dealing with the transient population in the city, along with the charities that go along with that, and coordinating a relationship with the businesses and communities, partnerships. With that being said, a lot of what I deal with every day is transients in the area that don't have the resources to land a stable life, which causes other issues throughout the day for them and through the city, to include trespassing on public and private property, open container violations, assault and battery, and a variety of offenses that, if they had a structured life and a structured means of growing themselves in whatever way possible, I feel that they would grow as a person and would not be in that situation. Just for example, this year alone, we've had, of the 2,200 reports the police department's had, 239 of them have been related to transient issues, whether it be trespassing, ancillary to arrests, everything like that. And of the 526 arrests the agency has had this year, 66 have been members of our transient population, most of them being habitual. And one of a great example, not great, but we have an individual who's been arrested 16 times in the last 2 years and issued 21 trespass warnings from various locations throughout the city, and has personally fought me twice. And each of those times he's been arrested or trespassed, he's been under the influence and didn't have a job or anything like that to provide for himself. And whenever I've been able to talk to him when he's sober, he's a completely different person that I'd know would be able to have a completely different life if there was a structured outline for him. So that's why I feel passionately about us having a relationship with a shelter to improve the city and individuals within it. So any questions?
So 2 questions. What is the trend of this in our cities just since the first of this year? We're seeing a number. And then walk us through how this would help with someone, like you just said, having a shelter versus not having a shelter.
So unfortunately, it's not just us in the country. Every city that I've done research on, it's been an upward trend of transient-related issues, and we're no exception to that. The point-in-time count that we did this year, I believe it said 70 or 77, but I believe it's 70, and it's a very fluid number given it's a transient population. So somewhere between the 70 that was given, or at the highest about 96 to my estimates, which is an increase from last year when I took over this position. And if you could remind me of your second question.
So the trend went from 70 to 96
So-
to your estimate and of just transients, from
So
what you're saying.
Since the point-in-time count was done, I've added another
Point in count.
about 20 people to a running list I have who are known to be in the city.
And then the second question is, walk me through how this shelter would help versus if we didn't have that shelter, which we don't have anything right now, where educate us on the difference on the arrest help or the program not just even help them.
It's a great question, Commissioner. And I'm going to turn it over to Max, but I wanted to add first, because I think that's what this hinges on, the difference between using a shelter like what Dr. Fallberg said versus our own city, current charities that provide to certain needs. What we're hoping is that we're going to use the carrot and the stick with our homeless population. We can't currently do that. We've been hoping to add this tool so that we can. And what that means is your 2 options are now, you can go to jail or you can get a free ride to this shelter. And then based on what Dr. Falberg just told you and the success that they're seeing, that once you're outside in that safe zone and they're looking inside and seeing the air conditioning and the beds and the food and their kitchen's pretty phenomenal, they're encouraging people to actually come inside. And once they're inside, then they're seeing that, 50% success ratio, more or less, which is pretty amazing. So it's a bit of a rolling the dice on our part, but it's better than what we have right now.
Thank you, sir. So going back to your question, it would provide, like I said, a structured lifestyle that they wouldn't have otherwise. For example, most of our homeless encampments, they have shelter, but it may be a tent that's 2 feet in the mud. They don't have any IDs, even though that's a big part of my job is trying to get them IDs in a timely fashion for gainful employment. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses are hesitant to hire somebody without transportation or a fixed address, unfortunately. And with the resources First Step has available through resume building, getting IDs in a more timely manner, and a stabilized housing area where you don't have to worry about where you're going to sleep at the end of the night, I can speak from experience in the individuals I talk to daily that it would be a big burden off their shoulders, and they'd be able to focus on financially recovering and facing any substance abuse or mental health issues they have.
So would you say what we tried to do in the past by not taking on a shelter, that was broken and now it's time we fix this?
Yes, ma'am.
And stop kicking the can?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, Commissioner Perrine. Vice Mayor.
Nothing.
Officer Ron, would you talk about, or Chief, would you talk about encampments that are around town? What is this program divided by those encampments? Will that be a place where you would try to disband and send people, or will they continue to remain and you will not approach, and you'll just approach the folks that are on the streets? How will you do that?
So with the camps, sir, I have a running list of areas in the state where there are encampments. If we did have this shelter, I'd have a strategic approach to go to those camps, offer the services that the shelter would provide, and if they accepted it, we would be more than happy to help them get those services and help them in any way we can. If they refuse it, then that's when the Pottinger Agreement would come into effect and be able to take enforcement action to remove them from that property.
Big undertaking, right?
Yes, sir.
'Cause they like their encampment. I've heard it called home. And so a big disturbance, right? This is no small undertaking. It's not the one individual we see on the street. That's where the majority is. It's out there in the encampments.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a big deal. Talk a second, if you don't mind, about, I know you've solicited for or sent employment opportunity out for a clinician to do the psychiatric portion of that. Have we had success of getting someone, and how's that going?
Yes, so we interviewed 2 new applicants within the last week, and we've moved them both onto background. So they're currently in the background phase, and we're, fingers crossed, we're going to be able to hire both of them.
Wonderful, really good, because I think as Dr. Folberg will attest, that's the nut to crack. If you can get there, fix this, all the rest of the stuff becomes comparatively easier. So, anyway, this is a tremendous undertaking, and I'm grateful that you're part of the community and doing this work. I don't know that I think this is a leadership position that our community has a direct officer committed to an outreach program. I don't think that's being done countywide, so I commend you for your work, and Chief for your leadership there.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Mr. City Manager, your report, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We have submitted 10 grants to the Florida Legislative Appropriation Program, and that's through the Florida Department of Emergency Management. Those are some of the projects, and in addition to some of the ones that we have been turned down by the states. Also, the Everbridge mass notification system is active, and staff has received training on the utilization of the system. So during hurricanes, we are able to do the texting in case of an emergency. Staff and myself met with DOT staff and their consultants on the East Coast Greenway Trail. They've been working on this trail for quite some time, and they had a route Westview is one that was presented some time back, and some of the previous commissioners had an issue with it at the time, with the routes. So I suggested for them that to propose this new route that they have, but in addition have a public meeting. So they will schedule a public meeting and they will present that new route that they got. Also, as a reminder, we have a budget workshop all day on the 17th of August. This is a budget workshop where the departments, they present their budget and outline their request to the commission. And also, as a reminder, we have on the 16th, August the 16th, we have a public meeting regarding the Women's Club. Also, some of the public participation comments that we had at the last meeting. We had 7 comments, and I'm gonna, when I say what they say, this is exactly verbatim of what was mentioned at the podium here. So we have an owner of a house that is part of the 6 homes that being lifted. That's where the piling penetrated through the slab, and it costs over $76,000 in addition. FEMA has agreed to pay 75% of that. So what's left is about $18,000 and change. So the homeowner was asking if the city is willing to participate in half of what the local share would be, which would be, if the city is willing to share, would be about $9,278. Just want to remind the commission that this is where the commission have approved to use 12.5% of the 25% local share up to $35,000. And this house has received the $35,000. So if the commission wants to provide the $9,278, I will bring it at the next city commission meeting. However, when I met individually during the briefings, I did not find a support, but that was not in official capacity. Another public participant, he mentioned, thanked the commission about participating in the June 14th Economic Summit, and then also how it's going to bring, high-paying jobs to the Southeast Volusia. And also, he thanked Tony Adi on the parking task force. Another resident mentioned about the Saxon Drive speed limit. We have did speed study several times on Saxon. The speed study did not support the reducing of the speed limit. That created an issue for the staff. Staff cannot recommend reducing speeds if the speed study does not do that. However, the commission has the discretion to, if they wanted to override that, they could do that. Another resident, he was asking, why are we spending $10 million from taxpayers' money to elevate these homes? And also he asked that why no first reading for Shell Point plat approval? And then he claims that the city staff couldn't answer 90% of the question during the Planning and Zoning Board meeting on Shell Point. And then he suggested Shell Point, the MDA is vague and will lead city down the same path as Venetian Bay. And I would like to just bring out that we have not spent $10 million on elevating these homes. These homes have a FEMA grant that pays 75%. The 25% remaining is a local share, and that's where the city decided to participate 12.5% up to $35,000. So estimated, if everybody uses their $35,000 on each home, it's just about over $400,000. The other comment that he asked, he said, why there was no first reading. Well, that's not an ordinance, that's a plat. So there is no first and second reading on that. And then he claims that the city could not answer 90% of the questions. Well, I double checked with the staff. I went back and I looked at the meeting. I think one of the board members was asking one of the planners engineering questions. And that's when he said, we have the city engineer in the audience, and the city engineer actually answered all the questions that were presented to them. They suggested that MDA is vague, but the MDA that we have, it was reviewed by both sides' attorneys, by staff, approved by the commission, and we feel comfortable with it. We have another participant who thanked the commission for the support of the cultural grants to the county council. And he was advocating for playing a long game by supporting the historic assets, specifically the Women's Club of New Smyrna Beach. We have another resident who was indicating that 120 Flagler was purchased because it was the owner of that building was a commissioner friend, that's why the city purchased that property. Well, when the city purchases a property, one commission does not purchase a property. It's purchased by the approval of the city commission. And we had 2 appraisals on it. And then he was asking about the tennis club and the anglers club. These both properties are leased from a long time ago. He suggested that all leases that the city-owned properties should have a minimum of 2-year and a maximum 4-year term, and they have to come before the city commission for approval rather than the staff. Well, the staff does not approve leases. All leases, they come to the city commission for approval. And then the last public participant, I guess he echoed the objections on Shell Point due to flooding concerns, and he claims that the sod farm on subject property is in a valley and it floods regularly. Concerned about the house elevations and overflow of stormwater ponds. I just want to assure that residents that all development that goes into the city, they must meet the criteria that it sets in our land development regulations. And in addition to that, they have to obtain a St. John's Water Management District permit based on the storage and also on the discharge. And as a proof, when we did the exposure analysis, the third party actually, he applauded our stormwater master plan and also our stormwater regulations in our land development code. And lastly, Mayor, I just want to take this time, as we all know, that the heat is just outrageous. I want to thank all our employees who work in the fields. They come every day, they work hard, so I just want to thank them. They do their job every day, they do it well, and I just make sure that they know that we appreciate them. Thank you, Mayor, for any questions.
Very, very, very good. Any commissioner have a question for any other reporting remarks from the manager's report? I fully concur. The thermostat on Commissioner Hartman's dashboard was 103. Mine was 100. It is hot out there and shall be for the short time ahead. Hats off to all of the crew, certainly both the Leisure Services Group and the Maintenance Operations Group. Well, their directors are here tonight. Your teams are doing amazing work out in the field. Thank you guys very much.
We have Leisure Services, Maintenance Operation, Police, Fire, everybody who's out on the field, so thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to public participation. If there's a citizen who wishes to speak, we'll have you come up to the podium where you'll have 3 minutes to offer your opinion, a critique about something that is going on in the city that concerns you, an accolade for a city member of the staff who may be doing a fantastic job. I want to remind everyone this is not a dialogue, but a monologue. We'll not answer questions. City manager is keeping copious notes so that if we need to get back in touch with you to follow up, we will do that. Absent that, you'll hear at the following meeting, as you've heard tonight, the city manager's comments on each of the public participations. You'll have 3 minutes. The green light will come on at 1 minute. The yellow light will come on, and you'll be done at the red lights sounding, and that'll be 3 minutes. So when you come forward, if you don't mind, your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to address the commission, please come forward at this time for public participation.
Good afternoon. My name is Lori Sandman. My address is 2580 Spruce Creek Boulevard. I live along the Spruce Creek in Port Orange. I am a local attorney, and I'm also a former NRCS soil scientist and resource planner. I have a few pages that, can you give this over to Kelly over there? Some handouts for the commission. And just wanted to make a few comments about a couple of slides that are presented. So I'm speaking today on behalf of some other citizens, business owners, and scientists who have challenged the proposed I-95 interchange at Pioneer Trail. And the reason we challenged this permit is because we've seen weather and related stormwater impacts that have changed the way we think about what and where building should occur. So let me tell you a little bit about what FDOT's plan to build in your community. The I-95 proposed interchange at Pioneer Trail is a little over 74 acres, 84%, and that is just the roadway alone, not the ancillary houses and gas stations and support buildings, okay? 84% of that 74 acres is wetlands or actual water standing in streams, puddles, lakes, or water, okay? The plan has, it's built on land that presently serves to drain surface and floodwaters, okay? The plan has been expanded beyond what was presented and approved by the public to include a rotary at Turnbull Bay and some stubs off the highway. The funding for that was never approved by the public or presented in any meaningful way to the public. In your handouts, I did share a map, and I'll hold this up a little bit so people can see in the back. Basically, on the left side of this, it shows the area. You can see the pink and orange, and those areas are wetlands that the roadway will destroy, okay? Below that, there's a styling of the case that we filed with FDOT, and we are challenging and have a hearing on this coming up. So what do we ask you folks to do? The first thing we need is a BMAP, okay? A BMAP is a Basin Management Action Plan. It's required by law, and there isn't one in place right now. We need to stop. We need to get this action plan in place, and we need to figure this out before we allow this construction to happen. Also, we ask that the citizens be made aware of the fact that this is not a done deal. We want you to help us, if you can, get the word out that there is time for public participation and there is action that we can do. We have a website at savedon'tpavesprucecreek.com, and citizens can go there and they can see what it is that they can do to help, whether it's posting signs, whether it's talking to individuals who can help, or whether it's contributing money or time. It's all there on the savedon'tpavesprucecreek.com website, and we want folks to be very aware, again, that this is not a done deal and nobody has to have this. We have wetlands that are definitely imperiled, and we want everybody also to know that this project is perched on the edge of the Doris Leeper Preserve. That means that the building and development will pollute and will impact what's happening in lands that we've already paid to preserve in our local community. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
And Dr. Herman.
Angie Beretta Herman, 108 Esther Street. I'm here tonight to add my voice to the comments made to you several weeks ago by Curtis Hodges regarding the wisdom of commencing the search process for Khaled's replacement as city manager. I do not need to repeat the litany of accolades of the professionalism, the commitment, and the work that Khaled has done for the city over the years. He has displayed his professionalism every day in his work, and the city has very much benefited by his commitment. I do want to add another perspective, reinforcing the need to initiate the search process without delay. Recognizing that Khaled is about 1 year away from formal retirement. A search process for a senior position, such as city manager, is a complex, time-consuming, and high-stakes process for it's a significant position for our city. Before I retired, I was the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs at a mid-sized university. As part of my portfolio, I was the chair for search committees for a wide range of academic deanships from engineering to liberal arts. The search process is complex, a multi-stage process that begins with an in-depth analysis of the skill set, the experience, and the management style that is necessary for the position, not only as the position is currently configured, but with consideration for what the position may require in the future. This analysis is critical, it's time-consuming, but it is basic to the position statement, to recruitment of applicants, to vetting the applicants, to interviewing the applicants, and making the final offer. Each of these steps requires careful consideration and a large time commitment to ensure the process is as successful as possible and we find the best person for this critical position for the future of our city. It's an insult to Khaled to not have his replacement in position to continue the work and the progress that he has made and he has put into place. I've seen significant loss of momentum and staff morale when the transition phase is placed on a placeholder or an interim is put into place, even when the transition is a matter of weeks. So I urge you to act without haste, with haste, that's what I'm trying to say, with haste, to initiate the search process and ensure that the search proceeds in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Herman. Appreciate your remarks.
Good evening. Cindy Sneezak, 512 Yukon. Complete change of topic to anything that's been brought up so far. I would appreciate it if, let me start a different way. I check the police logs just because there's some things that need to be kept an eye on near where I live. But I was glad to see that there was at least one car towed from a restaurant because it was leaning out into the road. But I only saw one such report. So it might be helpful at a commission meeting, maybe as a response to my question, to ask the manager to recap any recent changes in the parking regulations and the enforcement regulations so that there's a good understanding of what we can expect. There's the 3rd Avenue, 2nd Avenue parking situation. I have not really heard discussed at any length in the parking task force. So I wouldn't want to wait for them anyway, but in the following order, the Garlic leads the way. The patrons of the Garlic lead the way in terms of blocking that line of sight that's supposed to exist at every intersection, every day, every turnover of tables. Every day, every turnover of tables. And that includes parking at the entrance of the fire station, which is the end of my street. So the garlic leads the way, but they're not the only one. Norwood's is in there, as is Beachside Tavern. So it's good that we're starting to enforce, but it would be better to understand how far the town is going to go, and whether or not, in addition to towing or ticketing, there may be things that in consultation with the owners of the facilities, we're able to come to some resolution that helps them and helps us and doesn't alienate the customers. So for example, trying to go to Publix and take a left at that light at Horton, I have no idea why, because there's adequate parking at Beachside Tavern, but there is always a truck parked in that 25-foot, I believe, zone of safety where nothing should be parked. Same thing at the Garlic at every intersection. I'm sure we have big stones somewhere in a lot, coquina stone or something else. It wouldn't take much to drop those stones in those 25 feet areas and make sure nobody parks there. And that avoids having to be seen as being mean and do enforcement, but it allows me to see around a corner and not get forced off the road when big trucks have their back end shooting out into 2nd Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else for public participation? Evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Commissionites. My name is Tom Riley. I live at 833 Sawgrass Lane. I've lived in New Smyrna now for 12 years, happily retired. Just finished 10 years on the board up at Sugar Mill Country Club. And a letter appeared a couple weeks back in the Hometown News regarding recycling. And the quote basically was that the City Commission is considering scrapping the recycling program because city officials believe it's not performing well enough and that too little of the recycling is environmentally effective. So I wrote a response in rants and raves, and I actually wrote a letter to all of you, and I thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner Perrine, for getting back to me. That was very considerate. And yes, I would love to meet with you later. And maybe even there's a task force I can volunteer for in the future. But for right now, this is no time to regress. Ecologically, the future of our planet is at stake. We just witnessed the hottest month in the history of our planet. Recycling is something, it's not huge, it's not a big ticket item. It's not emissions, cars, manufacturing, but it is very significant in an individual's ability to affect their respective carbon footprint on this earth. So let's not regress and even consider not recycling. Come on, let's get real here. Let's find a way to make it better. So we have a contract with Waste Pro, 5 years, okay, which to my understanding is coming up in October. I may be wrong about that. I read something contrary to that. But let's based on that assumption, I'm going to defend Waste Pro. They're not perfect, but they're pretty much doing what we're paying them to do. And I'll tell you a little bit about what that is. So single stream recycling, it starts with aluminum cans, obviously, steel, cardboard, mixed fiber, which is mostly paper, and 5 different kinds of plastic, 1 through 5. Milk cartons, very valuable, definitely retrievable as far as monetarily. Soda and water bottles, then there's mixed hard plastic. The problem is soft plastics throughout the planet. It's a terrible problem. We got to fix it, but unfortunately, that's not in the agenda right now. So overall, by weight, 75% of what we're recycling is actually getting recycled. 25% is not. The 25% is mostly junk and soft plastics. In Daytona, it's a little worse. It's only 50% because they include their glass. And so that's not being recycled. So, you know, when China was in the business, it was free for us to do this. Now it costs Waste Pro $77 a ton to do it. So obviously it costs the city. It costs all of us. But it's worth it. It's something we have to do. So I talked to Ken DeForest, who's the outgoing division manager, and he defended it. He said, look, we're doing the best we can. Can we do better? Yes. The big story is, people take loads of recycling and they just go to the dump. I've seen trucks go from DeLand right to the dump. Well, that's a decision the driver makes if his load is compromised with garbage. Like after, say, a huge food event, I'm just throwing it out, Cheeseburger in Paradise, whatever, they don't do a good job. He sees all this garbage. They go right to the dump. They have to, okay? But they're doing a pretty good job. And I say, you know, don't even think about regressing and not renewing our recycling. Let's make it better. Let's sit down with Waste Pro and see if we can do better. Now, glass, okay?
Thank you,
glass.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Riley.
it?
Thanks, Tom. Yep,
Okay.
3 minutes, so we appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else for public participation?
I'm Cindy Radigan from Terra Trail, and I'm going to add to what he just said. I'm really disappointed that glass has been removed from the recycling efforts in New Smyrna. Glass is the most recyclable, element on the earth. I mean, how can we not afford to recycle glass and we're just throwing it all in the trash? I think we should include glass. Hear, hear. Okay, I came up on a completely different subject, but I thought I'd add to his. I kind of was given the impression that there was going to be a little more reference to the recent noise study done with the workshop that was done here in town recently. And I thought that there was going to be more brought up about the flight training noise with the airport. So I kind of came prepared with a little bit more. And I won't go on too long about it, but I just wanted to reiterate once again that the stress of the noise and the pollution is having a grave impact on not only my health, but that of many of my neighbors. Our days are governed by the direction of the wind every single day. Whether or not you can stand to be in your home or on your property. You can't garden, you can't landscape, you don't even want to be in your home, you just want to run away. I have spent the last 2 or 3 weeks going door to door to door to door to door and meeting all of my neighbors in the surrounding neighborhoods that are directly impacted by runway 25 and runway 29. I myself personally have gathered in excess of 60 signatures, and I hope to have closer to 75 to 80 before I'm done. And there's 4 other people out and around also gathering up signatures of people that are being greatly impacted by the flight training noise. There is a neighborhood coalition forming at this time, and I would like for the city to consider having a special city commission meeting for people who are impacted to be able to come forth and have more than a 3-minute segment of time to be able to say, this is what I'm dealing with, this is the impact that I am suffering with, and because this is something that just can't be pushed off to the back burner and ignored any longer. It's something we really do have to address. I get anywhere from 90 to 150 planes per hour over my house, per hour, and that starts at around 7 o'clock in the morning, sometimes earlier, sometimes it doesn't start till 8, and it continues until 10 o'clock at night, unless the winds happen to shift out of the east and we get maybe a 2 or 3, sometimes a 4-hour break, especially when it's raining, and that's when it stops. Otherwise, we are bombarded all day, every day, from early in the morning until very late at night, and this is an issue that just isn't going to go away, and we really do need to address it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
I'm Mr. Radigan from 1339 Scarlet Trail. I'm going to give my 3 minutes back to Cindy.
Not possible, sir. If you want to speak, go right ahead.
Well, I'm not sure you're going to want to hear what I have to say.
Go ahead, please.
We have been going around the neighborhoods and talking to a lot of people. And we heard that there was quite a list of people in that did not want that interchange put in. And by the time it made to Tallahassee, all of that list of people were turned around to be people that were for it. Now, I don't know who to ask. Maybe I'll ask this lady that spoke up, that's the attorney. Maybe she can find out how true that is. But the people that get voted for to be in the position you all are in are here for the residents. You're not here for the companies that want to take you to lunch or throw you on vacation somewhere. You're here for the residents of the city. And there's a lot of us in the county that are on the fringe areas that are involved as well. And what was it? There was one other thing. I'm sorry, I'm not feeling real well tonight. But
Take your time, sir.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, take your time.
There was one other one. What was the other one? Anyway, I hope this thing works out good with the airport. We're getting a lot of names together. We're having a hard time doing it within the parameter of time that's been given to us. It takes a lot of time to go around and talk to these people and sit down and see what their concerns are. But when you hear about some of the officials that just disregard that and do what they want to do anyway, I mean, people don't even want to come in. There's so many people, probably a good 30, 40% of the people that we talk to say that nothing's ever going to happen. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. Oh, and I remember what it was. The out off of the street that comes off of Williams and goes west, they're going to put a Section 8 group housing out there. And they're taking down 300-year-old oak trees that are in a mesic hammock. We have one of the only, a very unique hammock here in New Smyrna. And I'm sure all of you are aware of how the beauty of the oak trees. And they want to just clear that big one right out of the middle of the street and the hammock and the surrounding area to clear this area to put a bunch of little homes. I don't know. There's a lot of people up against that too, and I hope they're being listened to.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Appreciate it.
My name is James Bask, 1106 Palmetto Street. I'm here to complain about the penny saver shoppers that are thrown around on people's yards once a week. From my walk in the neighborhood, a lot of people don't pick them up. They're just getting soaking wet, rotting, and flowing into the street. They seem to be a blight on the landscape. I don't know if there's any regulation about these already, but I sincerely hope they could be restricted or prohibited because they're a nuisance. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else for public participation? Yes, sir.
I'm Rick Kolodinsky. I live at 1305 North Atlantic Avenue. And I've lived in New Smyrna Beach for a long time, probably 40 years. And I'm here to echo what my friend Tom Riley said about recycling. Recycling is something that we do that really is an important activity, something that we do for the entire planet, something that we do for our environment, something that really should have consideration beyond just the pure fiscal impact of whether it's a good idea to recycle glass or not. I also have a place in Sanibel Island, and there they recycle glass. They take it to Fort Myers, There's a glass recycling place there, and it's fiscally doable over there. So I don't know, I'm certainly not a recycling expert, but I do know that we have a lot of people in this community who are sensitive to the environment and who would support a recycling effort, even if it were to cost us a little bit more money. The alternative in terms of glass recycling that I have some experience with is having a central area where residents could drop their glass off. So instead of paying Waste Pro or to pick up and drive their trucks around and pay their employees, if we had a central area somewhere in New Smyrna Beach where residents could voluntarily drop glass off, that would make the recycling of glass a whole lot more fiscally responsible and possible. So that's, I don't know who deals with that here, recycling and the questions concerning recycling. Again, I have no expertise in this. I just have a feeling that it's an important value to us and a lot of other citizens in the city. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else for public participation? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Assembly members of the council, Councilman Hartman, Mayor Cleveland, Council Perrine. I'm in your district. I live on the 300 block of North Myrtle Avenue. School's getting ready to start again. Cars are flying up and down that street. You got kids that are coming from the school to the youth center, and it's gonna happen, and I don't want it to, but somebody's gonna get hurt. The cars gotta slow down. You got big trucks, you got big boats that are driving down through a residential neighborhood, and they're coming up on the sidewalk, and it's gonna be a problem. It's getting worse. In the mornings, it's hard to get out of your house if you're going somewhere because the traffic from the school comes down North Myrtle, and they treat it like it's US 1 when it's a residential neighborhood. Also, there's a lot of foot traffic that normally doesn't, and I'm a product of Faulkner Elementary, and I've grown up here. And I've seen the city change over the years, and I understand that there's gotta be change and growth, but there's an element over in my neighborhood that I don't like it. There's strange people walking around, and I just wanna make note and put it on record that something needs to be done about it, and I know the police chief is here, and I think they do a good job of what they do, but just take note of it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Sir, could you please repeat your name and address for the record?
Timothy Washington, 318 North Myrtle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Appreciate it.
Hello, I'm Katie Kelsey Liller. I'm at 461 Wildwood Drive. I am here tonight. I attended a meeting last night at the Planning and Zoning regarding some development on the end of Wildwood Drive on 44 with the ABC and some other development that's going to be happening there. And I wanted to also just come and state my opposition and my neighbors of a development that they are proposing to put off of Page Avenue at the end of our street, 33 acres, which is all in a flood zone, all wetlands. If you go down and look at that property, I mean, it sits a couple feet at least down, and it's always standing water. My house, I've been in for 18 years, flooded with this last hurricane, so it is very concerning to myself, and I know all of my neighbors that are here tonight, to think of a development being put in at the end of our street with that many homes, adding to that issue that we now know exists. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention and make sure that we're all ahead of it and looking at it and doing the right things for us all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Appreciate that. Any other comments from the public wishing to address the commission? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Savannah Parks, 838 East 19th Avenue. I actually was going to come up here today to thank you guys for making this statement on the city website to kind of help address the concerns around the misinformation for the zoning application. So thank you for taking the step to do that. That was a lot to see evolve over the last week, and thank you for just upholding, you know, what the city is here to do. But the other things that came up tonight about the environmental issues in the city, I think that what I've witnessed, I'm a land consultant, I own a small consulting company here, is that we're in a place where we have a lot of people ready to get creative and see small changes like we're seeing other coastal communities implement. I'm thinking a lot about St. Pete and St. Augustine and how they have allowed kind of an artistic expression to integrate into the city in the way that it evolves. And we have that historic charm here in New Smyrna Beach, and I think what we're just really seeking is maybe some city placement of an internal environmental reviewer. Sorry, I'm like kind of emotional. My family's lived in Volusia County for over 100 years, and oh, I'm so irritated to see the fast food restaurants on 44 when I drive home from work every day. It's bad. We know that fast food is not healthy for our community, yet I'm just seeing new development with poor, conscious choices of food for our people, and I'm cringing in my skin having to say it up here. Yeah, I just second everybody that had the guts to come up here and speak for the environment tonight, and I just don't want to leave out the second component of making healthy choices, healthy decisions, and supporting companies and companies that don't come from capital partners that aren't concerned about the welfare of our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Anything else for public participation? Public participation is now closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda now. And is there any commissioner wishes to remove any item off of the consent agenda?
Nothing.
I'd like to.
Or hold it for discussion.
Correct. Some of these are for discussion.
Yeah, sure.
Pull 7J, 7K, and 7M, please, like M like mother.
JKM as in Mary?
Yes.
Okay. Second chance, Sarah, Vice Mayor, no?
No.
All right, so. How about 7C for a comment? Pull that. And we've got the addition of 7S, so we'll leave that in since no one wants to take that out. Okay, so I would entertain then a motion to adopt, accept 7A, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, L, N, O, P, Q, R, and S as approval for the consent agenda. Is there a motion to that order?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt as said.
A motion to accept the items that I read for the record. Is there a second?
Second, with the notation that with the change in 7N from the published.
Yes, the published is now corrected for the record that says consider rejection, which approves the staff recommendation. Yes, so we have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move into the pulled items. And for discussion, a little help from city manager here. We talked previously about a communications plan to go forward with each of both 7C and 7D for that matter. Do you have such a plan so that we don't spring this on everyone? And just for the record, Colin, is this an annual 4% increase, or is this a one-time 4% increase? And does our contract state such that we have to do annuals? And if the contract already has it, why then do we even need to vote on it?
Yeah, it's an annual increase that it's in the contract. I think we bring it to the commission for transparency. So it's a 4% based on the CPI, so it might change, but they have a maximum on it. But that's why it comes to the commission. But in reality, it does not.
And communications plan to the residents, is there something Vesky's got?
We will issue, because this will be in effect with their new contract, I mean, with the annual, so comes in October 1st. That's our contract with them, so we will be sending out notices to all the residents, post on our websites and also on our Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Really good. And as regarding several comments tonight on the recycling, just from you or for Director Ray, do you have insight as to whether they're actually performing the recycling, that we're actually delivering the stuff to them and they're actually doing the appropriate sorting and sending to recycle? I know we're paying a premium for that, but just to ensure that that's actually going on.
And it is, Mayor, and I think I mentioned to the commission during briefings that I actually toured their facility, and we followed the truck from the time it left New Smyrna to the time it got to Ocala. They do the recycling. And also, I just want to point out to one of the comments that was made that the city is going to stop the recycling. That wasn't the city. I think it was one of the commissioners during the discussions have mentioned that, but it wasn't on an agenda item. It wasn't anything. And staff would not recommend to stop recycling. So just want to make sure that that's out there.
Really good. That's good to have on the record. I appreciate that.
So the only thing is that the commission made a decision on some time back is the recycling of the glass. So glass right now is not being recycled because there wasn't any market for it at the time, and it costs $77 and change. So the commission decided at that point not to do recycling on the glass. So that's the only item right now. Otherwise, we recycle everything.
Okay, very good. Is there a motion to approve item 7C?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I have a motion.
7C.
Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on now, please, to item 7J, which is our participation in the Florida Space-Driven Advanced Manufacturing Materials Hub, the Southeast Volusia County. Commissioner Perine, you've got interest in that.
This, I just wanted some discussion and clarification from Chris, and I see Bliss is here. Maybe it's both or either or, and just go in a little bit more detail. There wasn't enough attached to the consent agenda for me to actually make a decision.
Yes, Commissioner Green, thank you for that question. So to clarify, the difference between what was approved in June that the commission approved for us to proceed is that the initial intent was for the Southeast Volusia Manufacturing Technology Coalition to be the lead applicant for this competitive round. However, in the interim period between that last meeting and now, we learned that we were in more stiffer competition with larger consortium group that was led by Space Florida and Embry-Riddle, and having an Embry-Riddle as the lead academic player. With that, given that and the factors around that, we felt it was more advantageous to the city to join that larger consortium. We were also invited by Space Florida and Embry-Riddle to participate. They thought it might be more advantageous for us, and we would be more competitive as a consortium through this particular consortium versus the consortium that we initially submitted to you. There is no local in-kind responsibility for the city, has no monetary responsibility whatsoever. This would be just our agreement to participate in that consortium and hopefully get the benefits of that NOFO should we be awarded by EDA.
Okay, thank you.
So I see Bliss is there, good as well. So it's not SAM or NOFO, we can do both.
The consortium is called the Florida Space Advanced Manufacturing and Materials, I believe, consortium. So it's the exact same application. We're just joining a larger group. Yes.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that this is a state initiative now, and even though it is a statewide initiative, they are going to be focusing on 3 counties: Seminole, Brevard, and Volusia.
Good
So
news.
we're right
That's
in the
great
middle.
news.
That
Excellent.
helps. Thank you so much.
And Chris, I don't know if you, but it's not costing the city any funding at all at this. So just want to make sure that is.
Yes, sir.
Great to have on the record. Okay. Is there a motion to accept item 7J?
I'll make the motion to accept.
Second.
Motion and a second for item 7J. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
And how about 7K?
This, Commissioner Martin has made a lot of comments in the past up here about asking for the whole package when we approve a new position. And I saw that this was for SUVs or pickups for the community service aid. And I just wondered if everything was exhausted before we approved to get this, because I don't know that these 2 items were in the original package when we approved the new positions. Maybe Chief Feldman can answer that.
I had similar questions, so I'm delighted you pulled it. It's good to know the answer.
Before Chief Feldman comes in, I just
Sure.
want to let you know that in the future, when we have a position coming in for commission approval, we will bring the whole package, including vehicles, if there's any vehicle required with that as well, including the desk and the pen that they will be using. So we're going to bring a whole package for you.
Thank you, Colin. Chief, what are they using now?
Okay, so these 2 positions are currently borrowing our citizens on patrol vehicles, so the vehicles that say cops on the side. So we are double tapping. We're short on parking vehicles as well. So this is a much needed expense, but point well taken. It should have been included in the original application.
Okay. So everything's been exhausted. We need these.
Yes,
You
we
would
need
be
them.
asking for
Right.
them,
Yes, ma'am.
obviously.
Yes.
Just another plea, I don't know, it's not to the chief in particular, but to Director Ray and fleet management, it seems like, and Commissioner Hartman is always on it, where, is this a pop-up thing, or did we just forget, or is it something new? And the sawtooth of the budget effect, then when we do that, your fleet manager, I know Kevin, your assistant, has got a new plan to make it, homogeneous. I don't know what size city we would need to be to go to a fleet carpool system over every department has their own cars, but I fear that we're nearing that at this point where utilization is not tracked. So yes, some of the cars are old, but some of them are not used and others are used or overused. So just put in your thinking, David, about potentially a motor pool rather than each department having their own. Then you could really have control over how things age and which cars you put up and which cars you slow down and trucks and what have you, so that we could have a more straight line rather than sawtooth budget.
Mayor, if I,
Sir.
about utilization, if you recall, I brought up 2 months ago, I was looking for a car to use, and I had a hard time. I had to use the solid waste vehicle. So just want to let you know that utilization is there. What happens sometimes, maybe it's like a day or 2, maybe you have some overlap, but.
Gotcha. We're going to give you the armored vehicle next time.
So given all the conversation about the environment that we've already heard here tonight, have we looked at hybrids for these 2 vehicles? Because it doesn't seem like they're going to be doing a lot of pursuing and, having to reach high speed.
So it's actually the opposite, Commissioner Hartman. We're trying to get away from the hybrids. So our entire police car fleet over the last 3 years, we went to the hybrid Interceptor, and we've had nothing but problems. Right now, we have 8 of our cars that are within the last 2 years in the garage or in the dealership for warranty repair. So until they update that technology, which Ford is trying to do, we're a little apprehensive. The other thing we're bound by, of course, is trying to find vehicles at all. And we, in this case, actually, Kevin is really the one driving this train, not me. And this is what he found and recommended to the police department.
Okay.
So that was a good question. They are available,
Yes, sir.
these particular vehicles at this price?
Yes, sir.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a motion to accept?
I would like to make the motion to accept 7J.
7K, I think.
Second.
7K, sorry.
Yep, a motion and a second to accept item 7K. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
How about 7M as in Mary? The consideration of James Moore as our auditor.
Pulled that one as well. In a discussion I had with our auditor when he was in, I questioned if we could handle as a good practice to use them but request a different team, and he said yes, we can. They have several teams that we could request, and that we just need to let them know. And we don't have to change companies, but we can ask for a different auditor and a different set of eyes. And that was a common practice we did, and I'd just like to make that recommendation, that we do use this on 7M, renew, but to request a different team or a different auditor within that company.
Interesting, okay, got it. And so I would imagine that is under the city manager's purview. College, that's something under your purview, 7M, that even though we continue to use James Moore's as a company, you could say we want Team X versus Team Y.
I talked to our finance staff this morning, as a matter of fact, about this specific, because I think Commissioner Perine brought it up during the briefing. They have no issues with it, but I think what happened is when you bring, I guess, a different team, because it's a learning process for the team to learn about the city, and it takes time, and they're short on staff. So I told them that we'll discuss that after the conference with the Florida League of Cities. But I mentioned to them this morning, and if we need to, I mean, we could go, but they kind of point out some few concerns if we do that. So.
How many years is this contract?
This would be, I think it's another year, so it's 1 year contract.
But the total contract is how many?
I think it's a 3 year plus 1 and 1.
So you see the value that a fresh set of eyes, different. There's a price to pay the learning, but I think our point might be that, hey, we have a totally different perspective. We don't care which company, but we want to make sure that it is not, oh yeah, that was the way it was last year, so I don't need to spend any time there. Well, you may well need to spend time there.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Mayor, and that's why we moved our auditors, I guess. They were doing the city for 35 years.
Got it.
So this is almost like our second auditor after that one. So,
I got you.
But I have no issues with it, but I think there is some concern. So I told them that we'll discuss it with them.
Thank you so much. Can I have a motion, please, to accept item 7, Mary?
I'll make the motion to accept 7M.
Thank you so much. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to section 9, which is ordinances and second readings for the public hearing. I think the assistant city, a public hearing will be held to consider the adoption of the following ordinances regarding the annexation of a property located at 543 Oliver Drive. Assistant City Attorney will read the ordinance number 3823, 3923, and 4023 for the second time by title only.
Ordinance number 3823, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing .25 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Oliver Drive, south of Hazel Bishop Drive, addressed as 543 Oliver Drive, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 4, providing for public hearing, provided for the required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 3923, An ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .25 plus or minor acres of land located on the east side of Oliver Drive, south of Hazel Bishop Drive, addressed as 543 Oliver Drive, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing an amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4023, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach is rezoning .25 plus or minus acres of the property located on the east side of Oliver Drive, south of Hazel Bishop Drive, addressed as 543 Oliver Drive, from Volusia County R4A, urban single-family residential airport overlay, to city R2A, single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Just a moment, Mayor. Chief, was she looking for a wallet or a purse? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. No, no, it's a phone.
It's right here.
Okay.
It's both.
Excellent. Save, nice save.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, well done. Senior Planner Mason, can we have your report, sir?
Sure, Kelly, I've got a PowerPoint on. Yes, Mr. Mayor. So the property owners have requested a voluntary annexation, a comprehensive plan amendment, and a rezoning from Volusia County future land use designation of urban medium intensity and a Volusia County zoning designation of R4, urban single-family residential, with an A attached for the airport height notification zone, to city's land use designation of medium-density residential and city zoning designation of R2, single-family residential, with attaching an A for the airport height notification zone. The site contains approximately 0.25 plus or minus acres. It is located on the south side of Oliver Drive, south of Hazel Bishop Drive, addressed as 543 Oliver Drive. At its regular scheduled meeting on June the 5th, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 to recommend the City Commission to approve the requested overall annexation application, and staff recommends that the City Commission approve the requested annexation comprehensive plan amendment, amending the future land use map to city medium density residential and rezoning to city R2 single-family residential with an A attached, the airport height notification zone. And that's a brief summary of the staff report, subject to any questions that the commission may have.
Any questions for our senior planner? Public hearing is now open. Is there any citizen who wishes to speak on this proposition? Please approach the podium. Seeing none, public participation is closed. The commission will now consider the adoption of each ordinance separately. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 3823?
Motion to adopt ordinance 3823.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 3923?
Motion to adopt ordinance 3923.
Second.
And there's motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 4023?
Motion to adopt ordinance 4023.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We've got ordinance 4123, 4223, and 4323, where a public hearing will be conducted to consider the adoption of the following ordinances regarding the annexation of the property located at 1603 Martins Dairy Road. Assistant City Attorney will read ordinance number 4123, 4223, and 4323 for the second time by title only, please.
Ordinance number 4123, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing 1.0 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Martins Dairy Road, north of Turnbull Bay Road, addressed as 1603 Martins Dairy Road, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 3, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4223, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 1.0 plus or minor acres of land located on the east side of Martins Dairy Road, north of Turnbull Bay Road, address as 1603 Martins Dairy Road, from Volusia County Royal to City Royal, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4323, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 1.0 plus or minor acres of property located on the east side of Martins Dairy Road, north of Turnbull Road, addressed as 1603 Martins Dairy Road, from Volusia County A3A, Transitional Agricultural Airport Overlay, to City A3A, Traditional Agriculture Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you very much. Senior Planner Mathan, do you have a report, sir?
Yes, sir. So the property owners requested a voluntary annexation, small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, and rezoning from Volusia County future land use destination of rural and a Volusia County zoning designation of A3, transitional agriculture, with an A attached for the airport height notification zone, to city future land use designation of rural and city zoning designation of A3, transitional agriculture, with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. The site contains approximately 1 plus or minus acres. It's located on the east side of Martins Dairy Road, north of Turnbull Bay Road, addressed as 1603 Martins Dairy Road. At its regular scheduled meeting on June the 5th, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 to recommend the City Commission approve the requested overall annexation application, and staff recommends that the City Commission approve the requested annexation, small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, amending the future land use to city rural and rezoning to city A3, transitional agriculture, with the A attached for the airport height notification zone. And that's a brief summary of the staff report, subject to any questions that the commission may
Any
have.
questions for our senior planner? Hearing none, we'll open public participation. If there any citizen who wishes to speak on this topic, please approach the podium. Seeing none, public participation is closed. We will now consider the adoption of each ordinance separately. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 4123?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 4223?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll now that we have a motion and a second.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 4323?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
41, 42, and 43-23 have been adopted. First readings. All right, there are 3 groups of annexation ordinance on the first reading. The property is located at 909 Ingram, 2560 Arena Drive, and a vacant lot on land on Pioneer Trail. Assistant City Attorney, please read each of these ordinances for the first time by title only. The second reading and public hearing will be conducted at our next meeting, 22 August 2023, which is a regular City Commission meeting.
Ordinance number 4523, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing .9 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Ingram Road, south of Mission Drive, address as 909 Ingram Road, providing for redefining boundaries of city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severabilities, and providing an effective date. Public hearing and second reading is going to be August 22nd, 2023. Ordinance number 4623, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .9 acres of land located on the east side of Ingram Road, south of Mission Drive, address as 909 Ingram Road, from Volusia County urban low intensity to city low density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing is August 22nd, 2023. Ordinance 4723, An ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .9 plus or minus acres of property south of Mission Drive, address is 909 Ingram Road, from Volusia County R3A, Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay, to City R3COA, Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay, zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second hearing and public hearing will be August 22nd, 2023. Ordinance number 4823, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing 5.22 plus or minus acres of property located on the south side of Arena Drive between Glencoe Farms Road and Cone Lake Drive, address as 2560 Arena Drive, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 4, providing for public hearing, providing for required filing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Public hearing and second reading will be August 22nd, 2023. Ordinance number 4923, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 5.2 plus or minus acres of land located on the south side of Arena Drive between Glencoe Farms Road and Cone Lake Drive, address as 2560 Arena Drive, from Volusia County Royal to City Rural, providing for an amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be August 22nd of 2023. Ordinance number 5023, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 5.2 acres of property located on the south side of Arena Drive between Glencoe Farms Road and Cone Lake Drive, address as 2560 Arena Drive, from Volusia County RAA Rural Agricultural Airport Overlay to City RAA Rural Agricultural Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing is August 22nd, 2023. Ordinance number 5123, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing 1.1 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Pioneer Trail between Condon Lane and Luella Street, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 3, providing for public hearing, providing for required filing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading is on, and public hearing August 22nd, 2023. Ordinance number 5223, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 0.1 acres of land located between the north side of Pioneer Trail and between Condon Lane and Luella Street from Volusia County urban low intensity to city low density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan map to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Public hearing and second reading August 22nd of 2023. Ordinance number 5323, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 1.1 acres of property between Condon Lane and Luella Street from Volusia County A3A Transitional Agricultural Airport Overlay to City A3A Transitional Agricultural Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading is in public hearing August 22nd of 2023.
Thank you, ma'am. Wow, that's a
Mayor, I
lot.
had a question about one of these, and maybe Bob can answer, I don't know. But the property on Arena Drive is 5.2 acres. When
Yes,
we
sir.
waived the fees for annexation, did we limit those to 5-acre tracts or smaller?
No, the zoning requires it to be a minimum of 2.5 acres.
Okay.
So most of the properties are only 2.5 acres. This one actually has, over 5, so.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't want them to get stuck with the fee if we needed to waive the fee also.
No, we waive all the fees as long as it's under 10 acres.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, we'll move along to boards and commissions. There are no items, no boards. And now on to reports. Commissioner Perrine, welcome back. And
Thank you.
You have a report to offer?
I have a lot of things to discuss. And it's because we're finishing early tonight, so I'd like to take this opportunity to at least talk to two out of two. We're missing two, but talk to you about some of the things, and I'm sure they're going to watch this on video, and then we have an opportunity. So with the Saxon speed limit, Randy, you were part of that group, I believe, that did the traffic calming. There was a comment that made from Khalid that it didn't fit the criteria, but we constantly hear this come up all the time. And do we need to reduce that by 5 miles an hour? Or do you feel like it needs to hold the traffic calming? Or where do you guys stand on that, since this is a overflow from past commissions?
So the previous commission, we were getting these hit and miss along with stop signs, et cetera, et cetera. So the previous commission says we need to have some kind of a standard. So we discussed and went over the traffic calming manual, and we mutually agreed that that would be the criteria that we use. So any request that comes for traffic calming or speed limit reduction would have to follow the traffic calming manual and would have to follow the process, which I encouraged her to do that the last time she brought this forward. I've had 2, I think, studies recently done, and they did meet the criteria, so we're working through that. South Riverside Drive did the same thing. So because we adopted that traffic calming manual, then we're kind of sticking to it has to follow the manual and meet their criteria even to go forward. But it's certainly at your pleasure. Or
well, I'm not going to do something like that, but Khalid just mentioned that it was up to the commissioners to change that speed limit if we were going to do that, and I need a clarification on that.
Well, what I meant is typically what happened when we do a traffic study on whether on speed or a stop sign, if it doesn't meet the criteria, the staff cannot recommend that because that will be challenged in court. And then my license or whoever's approving it, it would be on the line. The commission in the past, not recent, but I'm talking about probably 20, 25 years ago, they have installed a couple of stop signs that did not meet the criteria. Some of the stop signs that we installed recently did not meet the criteria as well. It's very difficult to have a stop sign meet the criteria because you need volume and so forth. But the commission could override that, and that's what I meant. It's the discretion of the commission if they wanted to do that. But the staff would not recommend it if it does not meet the criteria.
So I don't know how my colleagues feel about it, but I like having a standard and having a protocol and having math, science, and logic go through and say this is or this isn't. Now, if we don't like the tolerances and we need to adjust that, we would certainly get input from our experts and say, well, here's what other cities do, or this is the standard across the county or America or whatever. And I'm sure the chief and his team could find out how tight or how loose it is, and then we could vote on whether we want to tighten it or not. But absent doing that, we're going to have people's strongly held opinions come in and say, and we hear it regularly, something's going to happen, and that's the risk we take by not acting. The other side of that is if you knee jerk and we've got the traffic calming team running around all over the place, and if we don't listen to what they say, why bother having them do that?
So the person that made that comment on the Saxon, they know where that they are within that traffic calming based on what you're saying. We don't need to act on that, I believe.
And just Commissioner Perrine, as a backup too, that roadway was under the county just until recently turned over to the city. And the county has done a speed study on it as well. But based on the study that we've done and based on the study that they've done, it wasn't warranted. Okay. I'm not saying that it's not needed, but it wasn't warranted. And that's what makes it difficult for the staff to recommend that.
So recycling tonight, I read the article that the gentleman was talking about, and I think I was silent that night because I felt like I needed more information. I recommended that our special project task force look into it or whatever, that we don't just stop recycling. It was interesting because when I was gone, I went to North Carolina, and they did have a drop place where we had to take our glass, and it was working. But I still don't know if that would be something somebody could look into, that, because I hate that we don't recycle glass as well. So I'm very much about that. So I don't know where that falls and where we're going to go with that, but
You got some history or perspective on that, Randy? I know Jason was pretty open about what he thinks the reality is. I haven't been here long enough to know what we do here. It crushes me because our town has more glass production because we're a tourist town, and we've got all the bars and stuff. So we got tons of glass. We could find something to make money with it, or do some good with it. That'd be awesome.
So I'm one of those recycling nerds. I walk down my street and take pizza boxes out and put them in people's trash cans just so they don't get contaminated. But when we looked at the glass end of it, we were recycling the glass. They were hauling it to Ocala, taking all the glass and hauling it back to Volusia County to dump it in the dump, you know. So even if there was a small market for the glass, given the environmental impact of the trucks driving back and forth, the weight on the roads and things like that, I think that's, you know, one of the reasons I used to make that decision not to recycle glass anymore. At the time, nobody was doing any recycling, and Waste Pro couldn't find a vendor for the glass that we had. Now, you know, if something has come up recently, I think Ron even mentioned that maybe Shane may have some information because Indian River Beach or somebody did their own recycling. You know, that's something certainly we could look at into the future, but at the time nobody wanted it. Nobody needed it, and we were hauling it back and forth as part of the process. And when you're paying by the ton to do this, it saved us quite a bit of money during the first year that we canceled the glass.
And this is what I did some little bit of research, and I haven't completed it, but some people, they use the glass, they crush the glass, and they use it in asphalt. But I think what I heard is they're gonna stop it because what's happening is it's affecting the roads, and they're not lasting as much as they should. So I have heard that as well. I just have to kind of confirm it with a couple of people. So, but you're right on, Vice Mayor. I mean, we were paying for the glass to go to and then come back to the landfill. So right now, we were paying $77 and change to take it to Ocala, bring it back to the landfill. And that's why it was stopped at the time. I have checked with Waste Pro just, I think it was at the Volusia League of Cities dinner. I sat on their table and I asked him, I said, is there any market for glass at this point? And he said, not at this point. So.
Are there other cities that are doing the recycling in our county? And where do they any clue? I mean,
to the best of my knowledge, none of them.
Even Daytona, yeah?
Even Daytona.
Didn't Holly Hill get a small glass?
It wasn't Holly Hill. I think it was the city of.
It was one of the small cities.
Palm Coast, I think, or
Yeah.
some other city up north, but it wasn't Holly Hill that I'm aware of.
No, yeah, it was one of the small cities. I'd just be curious to see, you know, where they are with their programs.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Mayor, I think we were the last city to drop the glass out of the recycling.
So, you know, it's worthy of casting a wide net, Colin. Like you, I think, counseled me earlier, if there was money in it, the people that are in the for-profit paving business would be doing it. I heard the same, that it breaks down faster and they have to repave the road faster, so therefore it wasn't being used. So, sounds like, you know, I'm a recycling nerd like Randy, and I think you have a lot of them in our town. that would go to a central facility, but I'm worried about upline of that. Now we got a big pile of it. Okay, now where does it go, and how do we get rid of it, and what good can we do from that? So I don't know how far to look or how deep to, how much time to spend, but certainly there are places that are doing something differently than Volusia County. Maybe it's worth a little bit of research.
I'm going to be seeing, I mean, we're all going to be seeing West Pro at the conference, so I'm going to be consulting with, I guess, the regional vice president that he's there. He kind of goes up to some other states as well. So I will ask him and just see. And I'll ask the other cities when we have the managers meeting just to see. But if I'm not mistaken, I think we were the last city to drop the glass.
I have a few more.
Go right ahead, ma'am.
So the number of emails we received this week were pretty high. At least they were in my inbox. And I questioned why we received so many, because of the situation of this quasi tonight. And I'm not going to talk about that because we can't. But what I can talk about is I kept hearing a similar theme of the people's fear. And the fears were a lot of the things that happen in my own neighborhood. I'm in a long-term neighborhood, but we have people breaking the rules. And we have short-term rentals, which falls back on code enforcement. I'd like to know what the problems that our staff have right now with enforcing those, and what you're seeing with people breaking the rules, why we can't enforce it, and educate us. Because I know that it's not that easy. And I know that, and even in my own neighborhood, on my own street, I have a 30-day minimum rental, but people are renting by the night, and by the week, and sleeping in the backyard. So how do we make our city better, and what can we do, and what are the obstacles our police officers have in our code enforcement? And I think that might calm some of the fears that we saw from the postcard that we got, that you guys clarified nicely. Thank you for that, because we all got nervous. We all got scared. What is this going to do? And we needed clarification. So if you could, I don't want to be the only person asking that, but short-term rentals is a hot topic as we see this week. But I really think a lot of it is enforcing that 30-day.
I will ask the police and code enforcement to give us a report on issues that it deals with short-term rentals.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll have that for you at the meeting at the 22nd, that you'll have it before then so you could look at it.
I like that. I think that would be helpful. And I think Shay did a phenomenal job of educating the crowd. And you see, we had no one at public participation wanted to waste their energy. They want to bring it next time. Even that said, this rule about the 3 criteria for quasi-judicial is difficult for most to understand. They want us to vote like they want it to vote. That's what we do a lot of time under legislative. So it's a challenge to go to the other side and not do that. And I think having that on the record tonight, to have that done, very well done, and have them come back helps, but it doesn't solve the problem of education. Maybe, Colin, when you bring the code enforcement back, maybe you could go through the protocol that if something is seen in the course of their daily routine of call-ins while they're on transit, that they actually, they're free to go and enforce things that haven't been called in. And if that actually happens aggressively, because we know that the violations are going on, then all the better. The rule book has changed, if I got it right. If you call in now, you've got to identify yourself. And there are a lot of people who want harmony and don't want to disrupt. And so they're turning a blind eye and over and over and over again. And now it becomes an epidemic. We're nice to a fault, and there are those that will take advantage. So I don't know the solution, but I just put that up for your consideration.
If they see something, Mayor, while they're driving, I think they will handle it. The problem is with short-term rentals. They won't know until somebody call in. So then they have to go in and check, like on advertising and so forth.
Yep.
So that's what makes it difficult sometimes. But issues like what Commissioner Perrine mentioned about, a property across the street, they're sleeping in the backyard and they have until if you find them, it's difficult to do any action on it. So, but I'm going to talk to code enforcement and police and see if there's anything we could do to improve in terms of the enforcement. Really, they have gone, I think some people, they're calling us overzealous now because we're just taking everything. And so it's like one of those things, damn if you do and damn if you don't.
I've heard that phrase before, sir.
So tonight also, we've heard a lot about the environment and development. And our city had a video on the website, and we had a moratorium, so this commission board right here had not approved any new development for a disclaimer. But the video looked like we had approved a lot of stuff, like the fast food places and everything. And when I saw that video, 11 minutes of what we've approved this summer, I almost had heart failure because I had people showing up at my house saying, why are you approving all this when we did not? We've approved 2 plats and since I've been in office, and those are things that were approved years ago. So people don't understand that. It's a matter of education. What they saw on that video is not, we don't sit up here approving new development nonstop. So those emails and those calls and the people showing up at my house, it just didn't happen. So it was miscommunication, I felt, and it really was disturbing to me as a commissioner for people to think that I would do that. When there's more than just this board, there's the P&Z, there's our staff that approves what property owner rights are, that if they have the right, half this stuff doesn't even come to us. So, and some things that were approved years ago that were just in the final, and just people need to realize that we didn't approve all of that this year in this summer. So anyway, I don't know if you want to discuss that. If not, I'm going to move on. But I think that needs to be clarified so people don't think this board is doing that.
Well, the video, just so you would know, the video was removed for now.
I
And
saw
then
that.
we'll talk about it, and in the future, we'll make some, if we need to do anything,
Thank
we'll
you.
make sure that it's, okay.
Definitely clarification on that all of that didn't get approved in 2 months.
Yeah, so that's a well, not long-standing, but it's been practiced for at least while we ran this last time up. And so if you can imagine, I had a meet and greet at someone's home, and they wanted to play that as their intro. And so that sets a tone, and it's it's optically misunderstood. It's the history, it's the current, and it's the future. And when you lump it all together, people are not they're not able to discriminate between what has already gone before and what is in process and what is being proposed. And so I think and it's very professionally done. It's amazing. It is just overwhelming because the volume is huge. And this is a city with lots of moving parts.